Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into something really cool, a hidden architecture that's literally all around us, even if we barely notice it. We're talking about the architecture of motion and the super fascinating mechanics of systems thinking. We're going to take some pretty complex ideas about synergy and interconnectedness and completely break them down so they're crystal clear and really easy to remember. Let's jump right in.
So why won't it go? To really wrap our heads around how systems work, I want you to picture a character named Sparky, who has this amazing little transparent wind-up toy car. Just imagine it sitting right there in front of you. Because of the clear plastic casing, you can see right inside, and honestly, it looks absolutely perfect. No cracks, no obvious damage. It totally looks like it should work. But here's the catch. When you actually try to use it, it just sits there, totally dead. It completely refuses to move. So the big mystery we need to solve in this explainer is, why won't it go? What in the world is happening beneath that flawless exterior? That brings us to Section 1, the broken toy mystery, investigating the parts. All right, let's do a little teardown. To figure out what's going on, Sparky actually pops the toy open, and inside we find the basic components. You've got the key, the spring, and the wheels. These are essentially the fundamental building blocks of our little plastic car. Now, if you just lay them out on a table, they're just stuff, right? Isolated objects. But inside the car, together, they represent the pure potential for motion. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Let's say we look really closely at those wheels Sparky pulled out, and they are flawless. I mean, perfectly round, perfectly aligned, pristine rubber, top-tier wheels. But here is the absolute core rule of systemic interconnectedness. Even if those wheels are 100% perfect, if we look back inside that casing and see that the spring is missing, the whole thing is busted. It literally doesn't matter how amazing an individual part is. If just one essential internal piece of the system is MIA, the entire machine fails. Moving on to Section 2, mapping energy flow and the invisible connections.
Okay, so when a machine is actually healthy and working right, the way energy moves through it is just beautifully linear. It's almost like a perfectly choreographed dance. Step 1, you turn the key. The physical energy from your hand transfers right into Step 2, which is winding that spring up super tight. All that stored up energy then releases into Step 3, turning the gears. And finally, those gears hand that rotational energy right off to Step 4, which spins the wheels. This seamless flow of energy is basically the lifeblood of the machine. The parts aren't just sitting there ignoring each other, they're actively passing energy down the line in a perfect sequence. But watch what happens if you sever just one of those connections. Say, the gears get stripped, or they just barely miss touching the spring. Boom, total system failure. The energy flow just stops dead in its tracks. You can sit there and turn that key all day long, winding the spring as tight as humanly possible. But because that connection to the gears is broken, those wheels are never going to spin. Just a single, severed connection completely neutralizes the entire process. Crazy, right? Let's scale this up for a second to really put it in perspective. Picture a full-sized car with a state-of-the-art 1,000-horsepower engine, but it has absolutely no tires. Can it actually achieve its primary goal of driving down the street? Obviously, absolutely no way. It's kind of an absurd image, I know, but it perfectly forces us to challenge how parts fundamentally rely on each other. All the engine power in the world is completely useless if it can't actually be translated to the road. Which perfectly sets up Section 3, the power of synergy, when parts talk. So what does functional motion actually need? Well, it boils down to 3 core things. First, that seamless flow of energy we just talked about. Second, effectively communicating parts. Think about the teeth of one gear perfectly catching the next one. And third, internal cooperation to hit a common goal. The key isn't fighting the spring, right? They're working together. These 3 elements are the absolute true drivers of functional motion. And all of this brings us to the real game changer here, synergy. Synergy is what happens when all those individual parts effectively connect and literally talk to each other, creating a functional system that is wildly greater than just its pieces. I mean, a key, a spring, and a wheel sitting on a desk are just bits of plastic and metal. But connected, they become a vehicle. They create motion. The big takeaway from our source material today is that a machine's success is entirely dependent on its interconnectedness. The real magic isn't in the parts themselves. The magic is entirely in the connections between them. So, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on. We've spent this whole explainer geeking out over a simple, transparent wind-up toy. But the thing is, systems thinking applies to literally everything.
If a perfect little toy needs every single part to talk just to work, what missing connections are breaking the systems in your own life? Are there places where you have flawless individual parts, maybe incredible personal skills or a really brilliant team at work, but the spring is missing? Take this concept of systemic synergy, internal cooperation, and energy flow, and see how you can apply it to your own world today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I hope it sparks some awesome new ideas for you.